this is the helicopter that the minister uses. For us, it's a personal loss. We lost a friend. We have not only the death of the high-ranking minister at the time of war, and also we have huge casualties of innocent children and civilians. The helicopter caught a flame while still in the air. I just personally do not believe that such accidents happen just out of the blue, especially during the war. These people recorded the first evidence after Russian attacks.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Christina. Today, a helicopter fell just on a kindergarten near Kyiv in a small town of Brovary. 14 people died, and one of them was a child. At first, there was number that 3 children died. It's a very cruel detail to share, but I want us all to face it. At first, they were telling about 3 children because there were many parts of a little body scattered around. But then after identification, it turned out it was one little body. 14 people died, 25 are injured, and 11 of them are children from the kindergarten. And there were other adults, teachers from this kindergarten, who were injured too. Among them was 3 high-ranking officials, yes, and one of them is our interior minister.
For us, it's a personal loss. We lost a friend, a dear person. It's also a loss to Ukraine, because at the time of war, to lose the Minister of Interior Affairs, it's a very, very serious situation. You know, there are many versions of what happened and why it happened. I don't want to speculate. I think there's enough speculation in the air. I just personally do not believe that such accidents happen just out of the blue, especially during the war. It is the highest ranking casualty since the beginning of the war. And a lot in this conflict depended upon Monastersky and his team. As you know, these people recorded the evidence, the first evidence after Russian attacks. They were the first at the site, actually taking testimonies so that people would answer for what they have done. I do not believe in random, serendipity or happening or whatever that may be. But, investigation will show its results. We also have technical issues, as we know, because this helicopter, along with other helicopters, were purchased under previous minister Avakov. They were not in perfect condition when they were purchased. They were totally remodeled and were supposed to work fine. But we know that the helicopter caught a flame while still in the air. The pilot was trying to land it desperately, and what he saw as a flat plane, that was the area near the kindergarten, and he made like 2 turns trying to land and unfortunately didn't make it. It blew up in the air and fell down, touching upon the kindergarten. So that tells us that whether it was blown up from the inside, if it's a terror attack, right, aiming to kill the minister and his team, or whether that was a technical problem with the helicopter that blew up while still in the air. As a result of it, we have not only the death of the high-ranking minister at the time of war and his team, but also we have huge casualties of innocent children and civilians, people, at the area of the kindergarten.
Even if this was a technical issue, yeah, we all understand that this wouldn't happen if the war didn't start, if Russia didn't attack Ukraine. So we do not forget the real cause of this tragedy is still the full-scale invasion, the aggressive attack of Russia.
Absolutely. And, in fact, Monastersky and his team were flying to Kharkiv region, as you know, and Mr. Tymoshenko was awaiting them to meet them today at the ground, because they're usually the first people to go to frontline locations, to the locations of impact. And Denis was such a person that he would fly personally. I mean, he would not send somebody to do this for him. And this is very important to understand, because that shows you what kind of person he was. When a minister flies directly to the ground zero, when he goes to the ground of conflict and he is there on location fearlessly, checking on the situation, reporting the evidence. Everybody knew that this is the helicopter that the ministry uses. There are many questions that will have to be answered, even if the technical problem arises. It does not erase what has happened and why. But the casualties that resulted out of this crash are truly tragic. And honestly, today when I was, doing the interview on BBC, I just couldn't, really grasp it because I still didn't recover from Dnipro, and it's like when your heart is broken and somebody breaks it again, day after day, and you really cannot concentrate. You really cannot, react. You don't even know what to do. And we see more children burned, dead. We see people who died, again, and it's like, an open wound that you put salt on it and you just open it again and open it again. That's how it feels. I have to commend, local people, because there was a pretty big jam of cars, and it was very difficult to get to the area of collapse, and fire caught immediately because, from the witnesses of it, they just say it felt like a gas tank collapsed on us and everything was ablaze immediately. And we see that from the results of what's left on the ground, just smoldering charcoals of stuff. And imagine you had the kindergarten filled with children. So these teachers were risking their lives. These people were just, handling those kids across the windows, across the fences. And I have to applaud and admire the courage, both of the teachers and of the, civilians on the ground, neighbors, regular Ukrainians. And today I mentioned that there were like kids, other teenagers, taking the children from across the fence and trying to provide first aid to them so they could recover, trying to calm them down because kids were in shock. Imagine everything was ablaze in the place that they thought was safety. And as I said, this courage and this unity of Ukrainian nation is unbelievable. And the children, the teenagers, everyone are so acutely aware of what's happening, and they react so fast that I think no rescue team could ever compare to that. For us, it's a personal tragedy because since the beginning of the full invasion and war in February, Monastersky team, that's the Minister of Interior Affairs of Ukraine, who died along with his team members, were really like brothers to us, brothers and sisters. And they were helping us all the way, standing by us and supporting our mission, the mission of the Foundation for United Nations SDG in Ukraine and our base in Vorovta. Because as you know, we had problems before with safety, because there were people caught around our base and trying to spy and to do damage and attack personally me and my family, and police forces, because Monastersky was actually representing police of Ukraine. And his team did an amazing job protecting and helping us, as well as resolving many other issues that were happening along the way, like our safety when we travel to the front lines delivering aid and so on. So, for example, Katerina Pavlichenko, one of the lead people in Monastersky team, was an incredible help to us and to our mission. And I briefly spoke with her today, giving my deepest condolences and saying that if Foundation for United Nations SDG could do anything to help, to let us know.
On the personal level, I'm worried for our president more, because recently there was an article that he's survived through several assassinations already, and it will never stop. Russians will always try to kill the president and the other politicians in charge of our victory right now, of our defense.
Well, Lana, I don't tire to say again and again, it's time to act before it's too late for all. Because, we're seeing that Russia is getting more aggressive, getting more desperate because of its losses, right? And, just having a number of 500,000 more recruits for Russian army to be sent to fight against Ukraine. For Ukraine, this is make it or break it point. And, Ukraine, in comparison to Russia in population and size, is very small. So I just wonder how long we can continue protecting the rest of the world with our own bodies, with the bodies of our children. And, saying just one little body does not, change the big picture. In Dnipro, we had pregnant woman shielded by her own husband with unborn baby dying. We had, 1-year-old child dying, had families dying, just because they were there, and just because Russians decided to send a missile their way. So how much longer? I mean, how much longer will we open and reopen this wound and, continue to talk and plead to the world to wake up and act? Because, it's been a year now, almost a year, that Ukrainians are defending the rest of the world, Western world, democracy, and Western values with their own bodies and the bodies of their innocent children. So, to ignore this and to pretend that it's not happening or proclaim Russia a terrorist state and not act to stop it, this cannot continue, and I'm glad that, the world is sending more weapons finally. I mean, we would have, saved thousands and thousands of lives were we to get those weapons earlier, and then many attacks wouldn't happen, because right now, for example, without Patriot, we cannot see certain missiles. We don't even, people don't even know that it's coming their way because the radar doesn't recognize it. So many, many more lives would have been saved. My question is why? Why the world was waiting so long? Why we are still asking the world to join in, shoulder to shoulder, show unity, and act to stop terror state, which they proclaim to be. So, this continues in my head, in my heart, and in my mind. And as I'm saying this, I'm trembling because, the pain that I feel right now, it's not the pain that turns into anger and, I'm gonna go and kill everyone. It's the pain of that open wound that keeps on opening and reopening until something is done, until the world unifies and reacts. Right now, Ukraine is very unified because we understand what is at stake. At stake, our home, our family, our children, right? I hope the world will understand the same. I hope the world will unify and be one solid partner, one solid voice against terrorism and act to stop it. Because at stake are their families, their homes, and their children.
I'd like also to add, on behalf, I will speak for my subscribers, I'm sure I can do it, that it hurts for all of them too. And it hurts for me too. And, like you said, that after Dnipro, it's like salt on an open wound. Today when I woke up in the morning, the first thing, I take the phone and I see there were no notifications about the air raid in Kyiv. So there were no shelling of Kyiv, and I was like sigh of relief. So hopefully nothing terrible happened today. But then I opened the news and I see that actually, no, it did happen. It did happen. There's another awful tragedy, and any other tragedy is more horrible than the previous one. But there is a big difference, even between you and me, that I can turn off the phone and go outside with kids and play, knowing that they are safe here in the US. And you cannot stop, you cannot press this pause button and have a sigh of relief for some time, to relax, because it's horrible and terrifying all the time, 24/7 in Ukraine. There is nowhere safe. All people are so vulnerable in Ukraine.
And, you know, the same thing here, you know, we were talking, where can we go with our 7-year-old son? And really, you kind of fear to go in public places. You never know what's going to happen there, you know, especially when you have a large gathering of people or Christmas tree or whatever, because those are, you know, Russia's favorite places to attack. And there are no school yet, and the kids, you know, Mark is having a secret friend that he talks to and spends time with, you know, that he created for himself. So I mean, this is the life that these kids are living right now in Ukraine in order to cope with the reality of war, with solitude, with fear, with anger, many issues. But also, as I said today on my previous interview, I think that kids must be aware and acute of what's going on, because then they can react to protect themselves, to protect other people, and to react properly to the situation, as we have seen today in this attack, right, where other teenagers, other kids were helping to save children. You know, I mean, I'm not sure that in many other countries, kids would react so fast and do what has been done there. And that's because they're acutely aware who is their enemy, what is happening, and that they must help others. And, you know, Ukrainians became not only very unified, but they care more. If your car breaks right now on the road in Kyiv, other cars stop and ask, how can I help? You know, before that would be unique. Right now, it's normal because people understand that they have to help each other, and that's the only way to survive and to unify. My question is, to finish this story is, if Ukraine fails, the rest of the world will fail. And I want the world to understand that. And it's not just about arms. It's about, you know, being here shoulder to shoulder and showing that you are acting to stop terror and terrorism.
Thank you for your message. I hear your message, and our subscribers hear it too. And thank you for your time, Christina. Please stay safe as much as it's possible.
Thank you. And I just want to ask everyone to take a minute of silence to remember both Denis and his team. They were dear friends to our team. And to remember all people fallen, kids and civilians fallen both in this attack and in Dnipro, because their spirit reminds us that we should never forgive or forget, and we must act. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Take care. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.